I thought, even though I have KDVS and my kids have that, there's still so many thousands of people out there who, for some reason, have been picked on, for some reason, have been the odd one out, or felt they don't belong, or not been able to find their place in the world. I just wondered why they're here and, what their purpose is. And I just thought, I can shine a light in everyone's lives who needs it, who needs to find hope that they're worth something, that they can be something, that they can make an impact, regardless of what other people have told them that they are.
Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast that's all about celebrating and empowering the incredible, hardworking mothers out there. I'm your host, Mary Dibble. I'm on a mission to equip you with the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to conquer the challenges of motherhood and life, all while embracing your radiant self. Join us each week for amazing guest interviews, relatable stories, and a whole lot of fun. We're here to create a vibrant, supportive community where we can be our authentic selves, where no one feels alone, and where we uplift and cheer each other on along this incredible journey of motherhood. So, fellow Radiant Moms, get ready to rise, shine, and conquer the world. Let's grow together, laugh together, and make every week a celebration of the powerful, radiant moms we are. This is Radiant Mom Rising, and you're part of a community where your brilliance shines through. Are you ready to rise with us? Let's get started. Thank you for tuning in to the Radiant Mom Rising podcast. I want to share about my upcoming in-person networking event that I'm going to be hosting at Crafted in Morganton on April 25th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who live in the Burke County area and are mom entrepreneurs looking to make some new connections and possible opportunities for collaborations, or just looking to gain some fresh insights or feedback, to come join me and other fellow moms for a glass of wine and some support. There's limited spaces, so click the link in the show notes to learn more and sign up today. It's going to be fun. Hope to see you there. Also, for you moms who are aspiring to become an entrepreneur or looking for some fresh perspectives, energy, and support, I will also be hosting a workshop on May 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with a special guest to help you gain some clarity about your unique purpose, talk about some important aspects to think about when starting a business and growing it. It's going to be fun as well and some great value in this experience. So sign up for my free Entrepreneur Mastery Guide and get on our wait list so we can keep you updated. In today's episode, we delve into the inspiring journey of a remarkable individual who turned a rare diagnosis into a powerful force for positive change. Our guest, Becky Tilley, is a passionate advocate for embracing uniqueness and finding strength in adversity. Her personal journey with rare diagnosis, as well as her experiences as a parent, inspired her to share her story with others. Through her writing, she hopes to inspire individuals to embrace their own journeys and celebrate their unique paths. She is such a sweet soul, and I am so glad and blessed that I had the pleasure to talk with her. Without any further ado, Miss Becky. Becky, thank you so much for joining me on Radiant Mom Rising podcast. It's so wonderful to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, very happy to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you. We've talked previously. I've gotten to know you. I love your story. I think it's so inspiring, and I'm excited to get the listeners to get to know you. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about, who you are, what you have now, and then let's take it back and kind of tell us a little bit about your story that led you up to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a big part of who I am and a big part of that is to do with what I've done in terms of authoring books and how you found me on social media is I've created something called Thrive Rare, which was born from a rare diagnosis, not just for myself, but for my two youngest children. And that was the biggest shock of my life. It was a blessing in disguise because it answered so many questions as to why I always felt like an outsider and a misfit. And it answered that. It's like, wow, I'm genetically different, not the same as everyone else. But at the same time, my kids aren't either. So I went from having like a victim mentality to always being down on myself, being my worst enemy, to thinking, is this what I want for my children? Is this how I want them to grow up, feeling about themselves and believing these things about themselves? Or do I want them to grow up feeling like they have just as much of a right to celebrate being who they are and enjoying life as everyone else. And I chose option B. And I would love to think it was as easy as choosing option B and ticking that box, but it wasn't. It took everything, as in all of my past. I had to dig through all of it, deep dive into places I didn't want to go, a lot of inner child healing
Yeah.
that, I think it's easy to, as you get older, you kind of feel like you left your childhood self behind because you're a mum or you're a wife or, or you're a boss, in a company, whatever that looks like. So you don't see yourself as a kid anymore. Actually, that child within you, if there is unhealed traumas and pain from your past, then that will stay there and it will show up
It
in
will.
different times. Like, yeah, like when my son was born with hypotonia and spent 34 days in NICU, I was warned that he could probably have a rare diagnosis. And at that time, my anxiety disorder I'd always had skyrocketed to the point where I needed help. I finally had to ask for help, admit that it was an issue for me. And that took me on a whole years long journey of therapy to discover why it was there, when it started. And so it really opened me wide open to go through that. But it's changed me for the better ultimately.
It does, doesn't it? And it's
Yeah.
hard when you're on that journey, though, of course, to always see that and trust
Yeah.
in that. So, yeah, I want to ask if you'll share that as well with listeners, what that was that you were diagnosed with, what you finally found out you were diagnosed with the rare condition. What was that?
Yeah. It's called Coolen-de-Vries syndrome. So it's a rare chromosome disorder. Was first diagnosed in 2003. So it's quite recent. It's still not very well known. Anyone in my local area, like even doctors scratch their heads and ask how to spell it and they'll Google it, what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not well known. And I certainly never heard of it. And, they told me that they had a diagnosis for Josh 18 months later when I was pregnant with my third baby. And I'm happy to say Josh was absolutely thriving. He was loving life. And person like, because he'd had so many tests over the 18 months in and out of hospital for blood tests
Yeah.
and special consultations, so many, it's so exhausting. We kind of thought, maybe he's okay. Maybe he grew out of it. And, we went on to have another baby. And then 4 months into the pregnancy, that's when I'm told they had a diagnosis. And I didn't expect then to be diagnosed at the same time.
Yeah.
So I found out he inherited it from me, which was another massive growth experience because the guilt that came with that was so intense and so overwhelming, much like anxiety. So I had that as well to process and move through. And it's like the hardest times in my life ultimately gave me the freedom to find what I was called to do. I always dreamed of being someone that could offer a message of hope to the world, but had no idea what that would be, especially when I didn't feel like I belonged, when I didn't feel like I was worth anything, like I was a nobody. But I still had that dream nonetheless of
Yeah.
being that person one day. And I just knew, like intuitively, like my soul knew that this was my time.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And for anyone listening, will you kind of share a little bit about this more? If since you, like you say, it's not common, it is rare, and share a little bit with the audience of like how this affected you as a child before you even knew you had it in your
Yeah,
life.
well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, same as with any rare disorder or disease or illness, like say autism, for example, there's a spectrum from mild to moderate to severe, and there's a spectrum of KDVS as well. Obviously, myself and my three kids, I've got three kids, and two of them share it with me, and they've had speech and language therapy, which I didn't have. I was talking really early, which everyone can believe after talking to me. Yeah, I was off. I was like chattering away
Mm.
at a really young age, whereas they are learning sign language and they're coming along. Like Josh has these keywords that he loves to say with a massive smile on his face, which I love. So that was different to me. But even though I didn't have speech and language therapy, I was in special education classes for math and English all through school. I was always behind my peers. So I'd be in mainstream school, but I always felt like the odd one out. And I struggled to learn the same way others did, which could frustrate teachers a lot. So I always felt like I was somehow like a missing link in the world as such. Like I didn't fit in anywhere. So learning difficulties was a huge thing for me. And it can also have health implications as well. thankfully, and I truly do thank God for this, myself and my kids haven't been affected health wise. So, there's a 50% chance of having epilepsy. And there's also the chance that it can cause abnormalities in your brain and your heart and your kidneys as well. So yeah, it's quite broad. And since then, since the original diagnosis of those primary things, it's expanded. The list has grown a lot longer as they've been doing more research. But I deliberately don't put myself down that rabbit hole because I'm prone to anxiety anyway. It's not something that I want to feed my mind with of all the issues and problems we could encounter. It's if I get a red flag or think something's not right for me or for my kids, I'd always get it sorted and seen to. But I'm not going to go out looking for it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, and it's hard you don't wanna do that, you don't wanna track that because you're focusing so much on it either, so I think
Yes.
that's smart, and it's, like, nice to see that you've taken something that could have held you back and instead you've embraced it, and now you help so many others with it, and you're even helping your children, and that's such a
Yes.
wonderful yes, and I couldn't imagine because I know growing up I always felt out of place. I never felt like I belonged anywhere. And that was hard for me in dealing with school. So I can only imagine, especially not even understanding that you really had something going on at the time, how
Yes.
you must have felt and
Yes.
how that kind of struggle was like for you. Now, how are your kids handling now that they have your support and things like that? What's their journey kind of been like with it?
Their journey so far has been wonderful. I mean,
Mhm.
hypertonia they both had, which is it's called the sloppy baby syndrome when it's not the medical term.
Mhm.
And it means, low muscle tone basically. But it can cause, again, there's a spectrum, but it can make it difficult for some children to walk. They need walking aids. I was told once that Josh may never walk or talk or see or hear. So they were trying to prepare me for the worst because they were still trying to discover what was going on. So because he was newborn, they just told me all the things that might happen. And again, I was confronted with another big decision to make. Am I going to, like you said, take this as a truth, as in this is what I need to expect for him, and this is what I need to anticipate, or am I going to say, okay, I take that as in it's a possibility, but I'm going to pour all the love and likes and encouragement and belief into him that I can for that not to be his story.
Yes.
And walking by age 1, he runs, jumps, dances, you know,
That's
what hit footballs, he climbs things apart, nothing you wouldn't know looking at him that he'd ever had a hypersomnia diagnosis. And Avery took longer in those early months to get going. Her limbs were loose and not strong for a bit longer than Josh, which again, we wondered, when she would find her feet, but we knew that she'd get there in her own time.
yeah.
It's amazing actually how that turns around because when my first daughter, who's neurotypical, the times I would go to the cake room and one of the mums would announce, "Oh, my baby's talking," and then all the other ones said, "Oh my gosh, mine's still babbling. Is yours? Like, is yours talking yet?" And we would be like, they're like, "Oh no, mine can't say it for words," and they're just making the first sound. Maybe like being flapping because they weren't at the same space as the kid that was doing everything. I'm just like, and I was one of those mums, and now I'm the complete and utter opposite to that. I
Yeah.
hone in on and celebrate every inch of progress, any centimeter of it. I got the salty banners out and, pom poms. I don't miss a thing. I really don't. I really hone in on it. And it's helped manage my anxiety massively. And also it's helped to encourage my children and brought them along because they've had reviews from nursery for Josh, and health visitor for Avery. And yes, there are delays, but overall, for the condition that they have, they're both happy, healthy, and thriving. And I couldn't ask for more than that as their mum.
Yeah, of course not. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that's all you want for them, and the way you've gone about it is beautiful because it is easy to get caught up in the comparison, especially
Yeah.
when you write. There's those milestones, and even at the doctor's office when they ask you those questions. And I know my a family member whose younger son, they kind of are trying to freak her out. Oh, because he's not
Yeah.
talking like he should at a certain point. I'm like, I mean, some kids just take a little longer than others. Just keep working with him and they're putting him, the poor child, through all these like testing to see if he's deaf. But I'm like, I see him dancing when music comes on, so he obviously is hearing. So I'm like, why are you putting her through this like stress that something might be wrong just because he's not as like, far along as some kids are. So it's wonderful to take away from that comparison and get away from that anxiety, because you're right. Think about that experience for you, what it was like when you did freak out, when you did have the anxiety attacks. And
Yeah.
and and from,
Yeah.
and from what I remember you telling me, like, you found out your diagnosis through your pregnancies, right? So it wasn't like
Yeah.
you knew about this beforehand. So
No,
yeah, I can't even imagine what that had to been like, to find that out while you're also trying to become a mom. Like, you didn't even get a chance to kind of. So tell us a little bit about that. What was that like for you? Because I truly couldn't imagine having all of that just at the same time of becoming a mom.
yeah. I mean, like I said, we waited over a year because we thought of having another child, and we thought, give the year, see what happens. And we'd get letters through the post saying he's been tested for like 3,000 different genetic conditions and nothing's come up. And we get these letters like every month just saying nothing's been found. And there was actually, before I found out, they said we've got one last test to do. And literally, if nothing comes back from this, to be on an international database. So if sort of anything ever
Yeah.
flags up someday in the future, he might be a match, but like there's nothing else we can do. This is the last thing. Are you willing to go for it? And we just said, yeah, sure. Like it's the last test. Why not?
Yeah.
And that was the test. That final one was the one that diagnosed us.
Oh my goodness.
And we were the first people in our part of the country
Yeah.
to be diagnosed using this test. We're the first family to have it done.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was basically a blood test, and it was mine, sample from me, sample from my husband, and a sample from Josh. And the three of them were combined, put through a system to see if any genetic disorders flagged up. And Josh and I were tick for Corinne basically. So it was so much to wrap my head around. And I think finding out while I was 4 months pregnant
Mm.
and being told that she could have it as well.
Yeah.
And that you need a lot of extra tests and scans to make sure that everything's okay. It's like, I do actually wonder now how I actually got through it, because I know how severe my anxiety gets. Like that was the ultimate test of like pulling through,
Yeah.
pushing through, regardless of how intense it got, to show up for my family and just keep believing, even for them, just in more than what the doctors say could be, or more and what Google says couldn't have means, as in I get to define for myself what that means to me.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage my kids to define it for themselves, who it makes of them. And I want, obviously, to encourage them that it makes beautiful things of who they are, and unique and wonderful things to celebrate of who they are. So, and I thought, but I couldn't ever just tell them that out of integrity for me having the same disorder, who I don't know, I could be one of the only people they meet with it in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Which makes you think, well, I took that responsibility on myself to be the best example and role model of something that I can. But it's, like I said, it's been the making of me. It's a decision I wouldn't change for the world, as in it pushes me and challenges me every day to keep doing it and keep showing up for myself so I can keep being that example for them. So it's an ongoing test of my like mental resilience, and but I'm keeping at it. I'm keeping strong with it.
Attention, hardworking moms. Are you ready to kickstart your journey to a thriving online business? Introducing Learn and Earn Profits Online Max, a groundbreaking digital resale course that's revolutionizing success. Learn how to create your own funnel and sell this exact course, pocketing a whopping 100% of the profits. Yes, you heard that right, 100% yours. Lipo Max is an enhanced platform packed with incredible modules and valuable insights designed to elevate your online business game. Don't miss this chance to join a supportive community where hard work meets exceptional opportunities. Say goodbye to the hassle of creating courses from scratch. Lipo Max does the heavy lifting for you, empowering you to learn and earn in an environment tailored for your success. Act fast and secure your spot in this game-changing program. and set yourself up for a prosperous life. Join the Lipo Max community today. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more or contact me today with any questions. Well, I love it. And tell us, you're an author, and I think that that's exciting. That through it all, you were able to write some books. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always loved encouraging. I've got the heart of an encourager, I really have. And even though I was in special ed for English, it in no way extinguished my love for reading and writing. I just soaked it up every minute. I'd get excited and watch the clock go around till English class. And I'd be in there with my little books open, ready to read, ready to write. I absolutely loved it. And I'd write my own little stories as a kid and I'd draw cartoons to animate it. It was just, it was the one subject throughout school where I felt like I belonged, that I actually had a place, that I was actually good at something.
Yeah.
And that stayed with me throughout schooling. And then once I got out of school and into the world, that completely dwindled into nothing. I only had to write if it was a shopping list or, sign a check or something, right? I wouldn't do anything other than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to figure out whether it was just people going through hard times and me sending a text message to say of encouragement, and they'd say, you've got such a way with words. You're so encouraging. Thank you so much. And then like social media came up, like Facebook. And I thought, now I could get like a message of encouragement out to a bigger audience. So I'd share it with family and friends, like, here's your encouragement for the day, the post. And then it wasn't until much, much later that obviously we were diagnosed with hypertonia first. If someone's diagnosed with that. And again, Toby couldn't walk. And I looked up what hypertonia meant. And I thought, okay, let's flip this and look up hypertonia hoax stories. And I looked at every single family that was told what I was told, that their kids are thriving, they're excelling, they defied the doctor's odds and expectations. I was like, these are the things I want to be reading, I want to be soaking in, taking in, thinking about every day, reading every day. And I did. And then I thought, you know what, this has helped me so much. It's brought so much comfort to my heart to know that other families are more than a diagnostic, that actually say guided their families big, and how they move forward together, whatever that looked like. And I just admired that so much. And then when I was recommended to someone to join a support group for KDVS, because I knew no one else, no one of my families and my friends and my community had ever heard of it. So I kind of felt pretty alone in there. So they said, use social media and you'll find others, families with it, which was such a great idea because I did. And then I joined the group and I just said, I thought I'll share some of my story. I thought, well, maybe I could encourage them somehow. And I said, I got a diploma in performing arts, drama from college. And I said, I had 3 beautiful kids and, just mentioned other things, little and big things I achieved in my life. And just that I hoped I could be of some hope to them as, a 38-year-old with a syndrome, as in the group, a lot of the people in there with KDVS are either young adults or little kids, not really any my age. And they were so thankful, like the amount of comments I got to say, I'm so happy you found us. And I've let you now breathe hope in my, in my life for my kids, that they could get married and they could have a career or pursue a dream. And I didn't have that till you came along. And I was just like, I went from feeling like I didn't contribute anything to this world, I was a complete nobody, to having that kind of response from someone just for sharing what I'd achieved. I thought it was nothing like what most people have achieved, but to them, it meant the world, and it gave them so much hope because they only had the doctor's diagnosis and prognosis to go on. They didn't have anything else, any other hope, as I provided that. And then I just thought, maybe I can expand on this. And originally, I was just going to write a book for the rare community, for families like mine and beyond. I set up support groups on Facebook, like the one I found, UK KDVS support group, and an international one for anyone with a rare disorder to join. And then I just thought, actually, you know what? I want to broaden this. I want to be on podcasts like yours that are mainstream and that can reach anyone, regardless of whether they have a disorder or not. Because I thought, even though I have KDVS and my kids have that, there's still so many thousands of people out there who, for some reason, have been picked on for some reason, have been the odd one out, or felt they don't belong, or not been able to find their place in the world. I just wondered why they're here and, what their purpose is. And I just thought I can shine a light in everyone's lives who needs it, who needs to find hope that they're worth something, that they can be something, that they can make an impact, regardless of what other people have told them that they are.
Oh, I think, yeah, and that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I just, it truly brings me such joy to get to meet women like you and to see that this is something that's happening more and more in this world because I think growing up, and I don't know if this speaks to people who are listening, but we tend to think our differences is what makes us bad or makes us wrong
Yeah.
or not normal. And that's such bullshit. I mean, to put it lightly, because it's so sad we live in a world that they do. They try to make you feel like something's wrong with you just because you're different when no. First of all, we all are the same, but our differences
Yeah.
is what makes us so awesome and makes this world so awesome. And I just
Absolutely.
yeah, and I want to shine more light on that right there with what I'm doing here and with
Yeah.
meeting women like you. I think is so awesome to see, that we're starting to realize that, our uniqueness is, what we're meant to give back to this world. There's something
Yeah.
about the things we go
Yeah.
through that's meant to help
100%.
others. And like you said, you had no family at the time who had any of this issue, so you felt so alone in your journey, and then you found this community, and bam, you realize you're not alone. There's so many
Yeah.
people going through things like this, right? And I love that because it's like that's the thing when we stop being so afraid or ashamed or
Yeah.
being different or the things that we're struggling with and start coming out and real and speaking about it and whatnot, we actually realize how unalone we are in all of it. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so many people out there who are going through similar things who just need that inspiration. I recently just was on a podcast myself as a guest and just I actually got a little teared up on
Yeah.
hers and because
Oh,
I was
really?
sharing a little bit about some of the abuse that I've been through and it's like but I love the idea that somebody out there who might be in a situation like that could listen to that and get hope that hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
even if you're not in the best of situations or you're struggling with things, it's okay. You can come out of it and you can turn your life around and make it what you want to be. And
Yeah.
yeah, I see that you advocate for that uniqueness that people have. And I think
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely. And I love how you put that because I think so many people, and I was one of them, I thought that what made me different disqualified me from doing what you and I do. How could I, release a book of impact or be anyone of inspiration when I've got this issue and that issue and I'm different for all these reasons. But those are the things that do qualify you because you've got something that no one else has.
yeah.
And at the same time, you've got something that everyone else has because we all have these universal needs to belong to. And I think the only way you can ever truly belong in this world is to express who you truly are, you know, as in like, this is like the most, I guess, at home I felt in the world in my life because I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to be anyone that I'm not.
Yeah.
And I've created my own place in this world through community, through sharing my story, and brought so many people together who can resonate with that. And it, like you said, and it's amazing. I think so many people suffer in silence because they imagine they are the only one, that
Hmm.
they're the only one who's suffering, that they're the only one who can't keep up with their peers or work or at school. And then you can one day discover international Facebook groups of, thousand families that actually have kids all with the same issue that you grew up with. And you
Yes.
won't, that's the thing, like you say, you really need to be brave and dare to look for these people because
Yes.
they are out there. Just take that first step. And I think some people would be amazed
Hmm.
that they're really not as alone as they think. Like you
Yeah.
said,
I know, and it's like you give them that permission to go out there and do
yeah,
it for themselves. So it's so important what we do. It's so important what you're doing. I love it. And for somebody listening out there, overcoming things that you have, the anxiety, all the diagnosis with not just yourself, but with your kids. For someone listening who might be in a situation similar to that, dealing with some diagnosis of some things, but they're not maybe themselves, maybe there's their children, maybe both. But
mhm,
what would be a piece of advice that you would give them to help them get through it in a better way than kind of what you experienced because you were stuck in that anxiety. You were looking back now. Like, what advice would you give them to help them have a better outcome?
Yeah, I think it's something that we covered a lot of
Yeah.
already because I would say before I had the diagnosis, I was very withdrawn from the world in terms of, like I said, I don't fit in, I just want to hide away. And by having that diagnosis, I gave myself permission to free myself, to let the world see me for who I really am and not to be ashamed, afraid of it. And in doing that, I could liberate myself and also find that I was never as alone in this world as I thought I was. I
Yeah.
spent my entire life thinking there was something fundamentally wrong with me, that I didn't fit anywhere, that I
Yeah.
didn't belong. And it was the day that I decided to take that diagnosis, which does make me genetically different to other people, and say, okay, what's the gift in this? What's the beauty in this? What about this disorder, syndrome, disease, illness, whatever it is? What is it about that that either has created something good in me or can create something good in me? As in, like, even if up to that point you feel like, well, this has done nothing for me, it's like, well, actually,
Mm.
you have a choice now to decide what that does for you and who that makes of you and how you're going to live your life with that new information, with that knowledge, whether it's for yourself or your kids. Like, how am I going to use this to live a better life and to be a better version of yourself for that diagnosis,
Mm.
and see it as an opportunity to understand and get to know yourself better, as in see it as a gift, as in, well, now that explains a lot of why I think the way I do, the way I act the way that I do, and just see it as an opportunity to get to know yourself better, to accept yourself and love yourself the way you want everybody else to, because fundamentally it all starts with you.
Yeah, couldn't have said it any better. That's wonderful right there, and so powerful right there is like the shift in the perspective from it being against you to how what's the blessing in this? How can I turn this in for good? How can I turn this into
Yeah.
something better? I think that right there is so powerful. If people would be willing to see that silver lining even in the bad stuff, because I get it. Like when you're going through stuff, it's so hard. I think the hardest thing is feeling like for me it was anyways, is this ever gonna
Mm.
end? Can I ever
Yeah.
escape this? Is my life ever gonna be could it ever be better? There's so many times I felt so trapped and thinking that this is it. This is it. It's
Mhm.
never gonna get any better than this. I felt so trapped. And I think that,
Mm.
when we can really understand that you're not. You're really
Yeah.
not. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is something better that you can change it to if you make that decision. That
Yeah.
is such an incredible message. Like so powerful, so wonderful. And I love to hear that you were able to turn this around and create something beautiful for your children. That's why they're thriving. I love your thrive rear, like everything about that. That's awesome. No,
Thank you so much.
yes. Well, thank you for sharing about this. And like I said, it's been quite a journey. And like you say, it's a continuous journey, right? We're
Oh,
always learning.
yeah,
We're
never
always
stop.
growing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
every
always.
day.
That's so important. And it's wonderful. So, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about like also with being an author. I think what's unique about your situation too is you're self-published, aren't you? Didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us what that was like, because I think that's even more unique because with your condition and with the fact that you
Yeah.
went through everything,
Yeah.
I think that story in itself speaks a lot of volume and showing how even the disabilities that people like to put on
Yeah.
people, it doesn't limit you unless you allow it to, right?
100%. Yeah. I couldn't put that better. Yeah.
Yes, she's self-published. I mean, you went through it all and learned. And what was that process like for you? What were some of the challenges that you did face?
The formatting part was grueling, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, for that, I'm social media savvy, but I'm not like tech savvy in terms of like formatting a book. But yeah, I had to create some structure for the first time. And for me, that started off as blogs because before I would just write, there was no clear beginning, middle, and end to it, to my writing. Whereas blogs taught me how to do that actually,
Ah,
because you could just start with like an introduction or like a theme. And then you go into, for example, like for me, like a life experience,
Hmm.
and then end it with a takeaway. So really every page with it, when I think about it, is like a mini blog instead. So that structure with
Hmm.
three overarching themes of parenting, which is kind of how this journey began for me. Because without my kids, I still could be in the dark as to whether I had KDVS or not. I could
Right.
still have died never having known. So there's that, and then there's life as in overcoming adversity, and also what it is to be uniquely you, to find who you are, discover who you are, and make peace with it. I think for me to have the that drive energy that I heard,
Yeah.
and to make peace with all the parts of myself I once hated, that I once wished I didn't have, that I wish weren't a part of me, that,
Yes.
those were the things I had to get a hold of and wrap my arms around and say that I loved me as I was, for the differences, for the heartache, for the not fitting in, that I still loved me regardless. And it was by embracing myself in that way and my children that way that the beauty came through as a result of that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's so amazing because that has been one of the also greatest thing I feel like I've done for myself, and I love to see so many other women and so many other people, especially
Yeah.
kids, go through is like truly accepting yourself. Self-acceptance is
Mhm.
huge. Right now, I feel like we live in a world where they're trying to tell you that if you don't like something, change it. Like as far as like your physicalities and things like that. But to me,
Yeah.
it's like, what
Absolutely.
about the
Yeah.
self-love
Yeah.
of being like, you're amazing just the way you are. You were not born a mistake. You are beautiful just the way you are. And you need to learn to accept that and embrace that. Cause I know me, thank
Mhm.
God I didn't change the things about myself that I wanted to growing up. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's so nice to get to a place where you truly do realize you've been beautiful all along. And the things
Yeah.
about yourself that you wanted to
Yeah.
change, the things about yourself that you didn't want to accept, yet it is
Yeah.
the most beautiful
Yeah.
thing about me. The.
Yeah.
And so same with you, same with anyone listening, the things sometimes that you beat yourself up about, that you criticize yourself about or hate on,
Yeah.
are some of the most beautiful things about yourself, that if you could just realize that and accept it, your world would be so beautiful and so much more
Yeah.
and so much a better place, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that really got me, the self-acceptance, that's what brings beauty in. It's just like, I never thought of it that way before, but it really, really was. And I think that's the last thing people expect. They almost think they stamp out all their flaws or things they don't like about themselves.
yeah,
Then the beauty's on the other side, but it's not. It's it's in all the hang-ups and the mess and the weaknesses. That's where it really shines through the most.
it does. It really does.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's so sad. So many people want to just do all these things just to feel like if I look this way, if I act this way, if I am this way, then I'll be happy. Then I'll accept myself. But a lot of times they do it and then they regret it because you know why? It's not who you are. And that's
Yeah.
something I think is such a big thing of what I want to advocate for is like true. Because like my kids, that's one thing I want to teach them is self-love, confidence, and knowing
Yeah.
who they are and being really grounded in that and not feeling they ever have to change to be accepted and be something they're not in order to be loved and accepted. Like you're amazing. You're
Yeah.
beautiful. You're great just the way you are. And so if there's anything that we can give out there in this conversation through your story, it's all about accepting who you are, loving yourself for
Yeah.
who you are
Yeah.
and making the best of it and figuring out what uniqueness about that can you turn around and create such beautiful messages or whatever it is that you're meant to do with that to help give
Yeah.
out into this world and attract abundance for yourself and your life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love it.
I'm finding the passion right now. I love conversations like this.
I do. I love it. And like I said, that's why I'm so inspired when I met you and with your story. It's so wonderful. And it really just needs to be heard. And I'm so proud of you for getting it out there and
Thank you
doing what
so
you
much.
do. And yeah, like you've inspired me with, I love the writing because I was terrible with English growing up. Yes, I hated that. So I was a math girl. I'm better with
Oh,
numbers.
yeah.
Yes,
I'm so
yes.
terrible at numbers now.
That's
I'm
all.
not even on numbers still. Oh,
See,
yeah.
and I was so opposite, but I yet at the same time, I love to write. So I've always dreamt of being an author and writing my
Wow.
story. So I'm in a work in progress for that. But it's so inspiring with your story to keep going, just keep going and figuring it out and work through it all, right? Because look at you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that thing, isn't it? That you just start. And I think that's the other thing. We live in such an instant gratification, quick fix world. There is not there instantly. We're like, oh, what's the point? You know, you're like, or if it's not perfect, no, just is in all that rubbish. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
just keep going. It's once you start, don't stop.
Yeah.
As in, what my book started as is
Mhm.
not how it ended. There's no elements of it, but
Yeah.
the key idea I had changed and evolved that nothing can evolve if it's not there to begin with. So just whatever it is, just take those first steps. And it doesn't matter if they're stumbling steps or messy steps or,
Yeah.
you know, even mistakes. At least it's a mistake that's going to lead you closer to the step you get right as such.
I tell you, some of the biggest lessons I've ever learned is do my mistakes. Like, I won't do that again. I remember I learned. So, yes, it's
Yeah.
truly powerful and something I'm, constantly trying to work on through myself and my own journey is, yeah, not letting those obstacles and just doing. Because that's a big
Mm.
action is what's going to get you where you want to go. Taking action
Mm.
for sure. So, tell us, and forgive me if you had already said it, but what is the title of your book?
Oh, Thrive Rare. So it
Which
is the
yes, okay.
within my first
Yes.
one.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, and I know it's not out there yet, but you're currently working on another book?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to be sharing it officially on my 40th birthday, so on the 30th. And
Yes.
it's, yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, people will be checking that out for sure. So yeah, I'll be looking for your post to support it. I can't wait to see how that goes for you. And just share a little bit with the listeners if they wanted to follow you and to find you, where could they find you at?
On Thriving Rare on Instagram. It's probably my favorite platform to go on to share my daily
Yes.
videos, just of encouragement. And on Facebook, I've also got Thrive Rare page and YouTube as well. I've got my own YouTube channel called Thrive Rare. Because again, I love doing videos. I like putting out message of encouragement, whatever format. I still nothing. But yeah, I and obviously share any updates on books I've created or published. So yeah, all the
Wonderful.
updates are on there as well.
Nice. That's wonderful. And of course, I will be sure to share this in the show notes with everybody as well for quick and easy access. But
Yeah.
I cannot thank you enough, Becky, for being here with me on the show and just being in my energy. I really just adore you. I feel like I resonate so much with you as a person and like the struggles that you went through growing up, feeling like out of
Yeah.
place
Thank
and where do
you.
you belong? And just it's just so wonderful to see how you've thrived in your life. It's
Oh,
really is.
it's been a privilege to talk to you as well, honestly. Like you said, I can relate so much. And I feel like we've both jointly given the message to the world as in to embrace yourself as you are and the strength and the power that comes from that and how it changes your life for the better, as I say. And I think a lot of people can't see that. They think if they embraced who they were and expressed who they were, things would go wrong. And ultimately, it can feel messy to start with, but that can be what turns your life around in the most beautiful ways.
Oh, it truly is. It
Yeah.
truly is. So yes, if there's like I said, a message from Becky to you guys out there is to do that. Embrace who you are and just get out there and show the world. And don't be afraid. Don't worry about anyone else thinks. Don't worry about how messy it is. Just do it. Again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege having you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Here are the key takeaways from today's episode. Understand that what makes you different is not a weakness, but a strength. Just like Becky's rare diagnosis shaped her identity, your unique traits define who you are. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, view them as opportunities for growth. Like Becky's journey from feeling like an outsider to embracing her identity and celebrating her uniqueness, you can transform adversity into strength. Don't isolate yourself. Reach out and connect with others who share similar experiences. Whether it's through social media groups or support networks, finding a community can provide comfort and strength. Take ownership of your story and your journey. Decide how you want to define yourself and your experiences. Like Becky, who chose to see her diagnosis as an opportunity for self-discovery and empowerment, you too can shape your narrative. Instead of letting challenges define you, use them as fuel to pursue your dreams and make a positive impact. You can find purpose in your journey and inspire others along the way. Embracing self-acceptance and learning to love oneself as you are, flaws and all, is essential for finding true beauty and fulfillment. Instead of trying to conform to societal standards or seeking instant perfection, it's about embracing uniqueness, making peace with imperfections, and taking gradual steps towards personal growth and expression. Remember, your journey is unique and your experiences have the power to inspire and uplift others. Embrace who you are and let your light shine bright. Be sure to grab your copy of Becky's book, Thrive Rare. Links are included in the show notes. Lastly, be sure to share this episode with anyone you feel would benefit from listening. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in with me each week, so please be sure to leave us a review or a 5-star rating on Spotify. Your feedback and support is much appreciated. Let us, radiant moms, continue to rise and live life to the fullest. Until next time, much love.